The smell of grilled ribs drifted through the quiet suburban neighborhood on a warm Saturday afternoon, carrying laughter, music, and the joyful voices of children playing in the backyard. But within minutes, flashing police lights rolled onto the peaceful street, turning a family celebration into a moment no one would ever forget. One phone call, made out of anger and assumptions, was about to expose more than anyone expected. Before the sun set that evening, pride would crumble, hidden truths would surface, and one woman would learn that judging strangers could cost far more than her reputation. Before we continue, if you believe kindness is stronger than prejudice and that everyone deserves a second chance, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps us bring more inspiring stories that remind us of the power of compassion. The quiet neighborhood of Maple Grove, Ohio, was known for its perfectly trimmed lawns, white picket fences, and families who had lived there for generations. It was a place where everyone believed they knew their neighbors, even if they had never truly spoken to them. Among those residents was Rebecca Collins, a widow in her late 50s who had spent nearly 20 years living on the same street. She valued order, silence, and routine. Every flower bed was carefully arranged, every window sparkled, and every Saturday afternoon followed the same peaceful schedule. Any disruption to that routine felt like an attack on the life she had carefully built. Just 3 months earlier, a new family had moved into the large brick house next door. Marcus Johnson, his wife Grace, and their 3 children quickly became known for their warmth and generosity. They smiled at every neighbor, waved while walking the dog, and even brought homemade peach cobbler to nearby homes after settling in. Some neighbors welcomed them immediately, while others kept their distance. Rebecca accepted the dessert politely but never returned the gesture. Something about the lively household unsettled her, though she could never explain why. As summer arrived, the Johnson family decided to host a neighborhood barbecue to celebrate their youngest son Noah's 10th birthday. Relatives traveled from nearby cities, cousins filled the backyard with games, and grandparents sat under colorful umbrellas sharing old family stories. Gospel music played softly from outdoor speakers while hamburgers, ribs, corn on the cob, and homemade pies covered long picnic tables. It was everything a family gathering should be, filled with love, laughter, and togetherness. Rebecca watched from her kitchen window with growing irritation. The sound of children laughing echoed across the fences. Cars lined both sides of the street, though none blocked driveways or violated parking rules. Every few minutes she peeked through her curtains, convincing herself the celebration was becoming louder than before. Deep inside, her frustration had less to do with the noise and more to do with assumptions she had quietly carried for years. Finally, she picked up her phone and reported what she described as a disruptive gathering causing problems in the neighborhood. She exaggerated the noise, claimed the guests were creating a disturbance, and insisted officers should respond immediately before things became worse. Within minutes, 2 patrol cars entered the street. Conversations stopped. Children paused their games. Several family members looked nervously toward the flashing lights as officers Thomas Walker and Nathan Brooks stepped from their vehicles. Marcus calmly walked toward them, still wearing his black apron covered with barbecue sauce. The officers greeted him respectfully before asking about the complaint. Marcus remained calm, explaining they were celebrating his son's birthday and had made every effort to respect the neighborhood. As they looked around, they found no broken laws, no dangerous behavior, and no reason to interrupt the gathering. Then something unexpected happened. Officer Walker's expression immediately changed as he recognized Marcus. He stood straighter, offered a respectful nod, and quietly greeted him as Chief Johnson. The younger officer looked surprised before quickly realizing the man standing before them was not simply another homeowner. Marcus Johnson was the recently appointed police chief of Maple Grove, a leader known throughout the county for fairness, integrity, and community service. Rebecca watched everything unfold from across the yard. Her confidence disappeared the moment she realized the man she had reported was the highest-ranking officer in the department. Yet Marcus showed no anger. Instead of demanding an apology or embarrassing Rebecca in front of everyone, he thanked the officers for responding professionally, reminded them they were simply doing their jobs, and encouraged them to return to patrol. Before leaving, the officers wished Noah a happy birthday, shaking hands with several family members. The barbecue continued, but Rebecca could no longer enjoy the silence inside her own home. Shame quietly settled over her heart. That evening, Marcus reflected on the incident while helping his children clean the backyard. Grace noticed the sadness hidden beneath his calm smile. This was not the first time assumptions had followed their family. Throughout his career, Marcus had worked twice as hard to earn respect. Even after becoming police chief, he knew uniforms could not erase prejudice. Still, he believed bitterness solved nothing. He wanted his children to grow up seeing dignity instead of revenge. Over the following weeks, Rebecca avoided eye contact whenever she saw the Johnson family outside. She expected anger or resentment, yet every morning Marcus continued waving politely before leaving for work. Grace smiled warmly whenever they crossed paths. Their children still greeted her with cheerful voices. Their kindness only made Rebecca's guilt grow heavier. One rainy afternoon, everything changed. Rebecca was returning from the grocery store when she slipped on her wet front steps. The bags scattered across the sidewalk as she twisted her ankle and collapsed onto the concrete. Pain shot through her leg, leaving her unable to stand. The first person to notice was Marcus, arriving home from the police station after a long shift. Without hesitation, he rushed across the yard, helped Rebecca into a chair, gathered her groceries, and called for medical assistance. Grace brought blankets and water while their oldest daughter comforted Rebecca until paramedics arrived. Rebecca could barely hold back tears. The family she had judged without knowing them had become the first people to help her. During the following days, Grace visited regularly with homemade soup and fresh bread. Noah mowed Rebecca's lawn without accepting payment. Marcus quietly repaired her broken porch railing before she even realized it needed fixing. None of them mentioned the barbecue or the phone call. Rebecca finally understood that forgiveness sometimes arrives before an apology. A week later, after her ankle improved, she walked slowly to the Johnson family's front door carrying a homemade apple pie. Her hands trembled as Marcus welcomed her inside. With tears filling her eyes, Rebecca admitted she had allowed assumptions and fear to shape her actions. She confessed that she had judged the family before giving them a chance, and that calling the police had been motivated by prejudice rather than genuine concern. Marcus listened quietly. He explained that forgiveness did not erase hurt, but it created room for healing. Throughout his career, he had seen communities divided by fear and misunderstanding. Real change began when people chose honesty over pride and compassion over resentment. Rebecca left their home lighter than she had felt in years. As autumn arrived, Maple Grove organized its annual community festival. This time, Rebecca volunteered beside Grace at the welcome table while Marcus led a charity fundraiser supporting local children. Families from every background laughed together, shared meals, and celebrated as neighbors rather than strangers. Many people noticed how often Rebecca spoke proudly about the Johnson family. Whenever someone mentioned the famous barbecue incident, she openly admitted her mistake, encouraging others never to judge people based on appearances or assumptions. Her honesty inspired conversations throughout the community. More neighbors began introducing themselves instead of keeping distance. New friendships formed across fences that had once separated people. Months later, Noah wrote an essay at school describing the most important lesson he had learned that year. He explained that true strength was not shown by winning arguments or proving people wrong. Real strength was choosing kindness when kindness was the hardest choice. His teacher read the essay aloud during a school assembly, leaving many parents wiping away tears. Marcus watched proudly from the audience beside Grace and their children. A few seats away, Rebecca quietly smiled, knowing she had become part of a story she never expected to live. If this story touched your heart and reminded you that compassion can overcome prejudice, please like this video, share it with someone who needs this message, and subscribe for more inspiring stories that celebrate forgiveness, hope, and humanity. Before we end, we'd love to hear from you. Please leave a comment below and tell us, have you ever changed your opinion about someone after getting to know them personally? The streets of Maple Grove looked the same as they always had, but something invisible had changed forever. One mistaken phone call could have become another story of anger and division. Instead, because one family chose grace over revenge and one neighbor found the courage to admit her mistakes, an entire community discovered that understanding begins with a simple willingness to see each other as human beings. Sometimes the strongest badge a person can wear is not the one pinned to a uniform, but the quiet courage to forgive, to grow, and to love beyond first impressions.